Hello and welcome back to another Kerbal Space Program tutorial, and I got a request to do a Mun Rover and how to get it there. So I've been sitting this weekend and trying to build a rover I was happy with, and I actually could fly. So let's get to it, and I want to start with the little bigger probe part. It just makes it easier to build, and it's just for looks mostly. And I like the drone body, or the probe rover body. So to make it a rover we need some wheels, and for the small rovers I use the medium wheels. I think these are a little too big for just a small rover, and they fit like 1 or 3 Kerbal rovers. And I haven't made anything with these yet, but I've seen people make big carriers with them, and I think that's about the most useful thing. Maybe big bases you can make with them too. But yeah, so I found that the symmetry doesn't work perfectly around the corner, but if you turn off the edge or the angle snap, you get it perfectly on both sides, so you can use symmetry to get everything aligned. And I use the corners, let's see, right here to align my wheels to get the weight as good as possible. And then the medium one I just put somewhere in the middle. You could actually use snapping on the middle one to make it dead center. So one thing I've been messing up a lot of times when making these rovers is facing the right way. So before we do anything else, I am putting a lamp on the front as what I think is the front, and let's name this Mun Rover Tutorial. So save it and launch it to test that I put this the right way. Because one of the things I've been having trouble with is that if I build the whole thing the wrong way and then I turn it around, something weird happens with the controls and the landing. But yeah, this looks perfect. It's driving around like a nice little rover. So let's get back to our VAB, and we want to land this with a skycrane. So let's build a skycrane first, because that's probably the most important part for this tutorial. The rest will just be details to make it look pretty. So I'm turning this upside down so it will be stuck to the skycrane, because the arrows is the side that it will detach from, and it will be stuck to the plate on top. And I'm just using the smallest plate, it works fine. And I found that the design the Kerbal Space Program or Squad already used, it is pretty good for making a skycrane. So we are just going to make our own replica of the skycrane with one small fuel tank in the middle and some extra fuel on the top. And for engines we're going to use these small Rockomax engines, and you need to have snapping to make this work perfectly. So I'm going to put it on the edges, and to make sure the thrust doesn't hit the rover, that can make the make it be a little uncontrollable, I'm going to face them a little bit out. And lastly, because we need fuel to the engines, we just do this, because I don't think the plate can carry fuel or something, but it should work like this. So I think that's it for the skycrane, so let's save it and try out the skycrane to see if it flies correctly. So we are on the landing pad, activating the engines, and just flying, turning a little to the side, and no, it looks like it's thrusting against itself, since it's pretty uncontrollable. So we need to go back and try to put this at a little bigger angle. So 4 symmetry, and let's try. That thing looks too much. I think maybe we had too much. Let's try it there. So yeah, the skycrane takes a little bit of work getting it exactly perfect, so you have the controllability. Now of course we are in Kerbal's atmosphere, so it won't be as, but I'm pushing hard backwards now, and you can see it doesn't do anything. It just want to flip forward. So of course there's something wrong here, and we can't land it with the controls being diagonal. So let's see if we can find what the problem is. Now it looks like it should be facing out to the sides, but let's try some more then. So about there, that should be enough, I hope, because now it's starting to look a little silly. But yeah, that was my main problem with building the rover the first time, is getting the skycrane to work perfectly. And controlling it to the one side, there, and backwards and forwards. Yes, this is how it's supposed to be. So yeah, if we were a space program, we probably wasted a lot of money sending rovers into the skies like that, but we are not. We have unlimited resources. So let's put some batteries on this, because the rover uses a lot of power. And I found out that I kind of liked having 2 batteries about there. So 1 on each side. And it's a good thing that I can go inside the bodies or other parts, because that looks nice. And to put some, let's call them brake lights on the back, we put a battery in the middle, turn off angle snapping, and put 1 on each side. And here comes my perfectionist or OCD in, so we have to make this look nice. So that should be it for power. Oh, we forgot to turn off 2 times symmetry. So just doing those again. Okay, let's just put them like that. That should be nice. Good. And we need some way of recharging. Now, we could use the radioisotopes, but they don't produce a lot of power. It's quite a small amount of power, and the wheels use more power. 1 wheel uses about a half electrical charge per second. So having 6 of these equals 3 electrical charges. So you would need about 4 or 5, maybe 6 of these, and they're pretty heavy. So we are just going to make this a daytime rover, and we are going to put 1 solar panel on each side. And to copy a piece you already put, you press Alt and you just click on the piece you wanna use again. And we put some parts here on the side too, to make it, we have to think that the sun is coming in at different angles through the day, so let's just put some solar panels around here. And let's see if we can just straighten this a little out. Nope, keep messing it up. Let's see, different camera angle, and there. Maybe we can do just 4 times at once. Yes, perfect. So that's enough solar panels, I guess. Yeah, that looks good enough. Let's just face them a little bit more inwards. And there. So yeah, not the best looking rover, but it will do its job nicely. So I think that's it for the rover. Just let me see in my notes that if I've forgotten something. No, it looks fine. So let's build our launch stage and carrier. So the first thing we need is a decoupler, and to make this controllable to the moon, let's put an SAS unit. And we don't need that much fuel, so we are going to use this one and a small liquid fuel engine. Then, oh, not the big one, we are going to have a decoupler. And do we want to use this? No, we'll put this just because it looks better. It doesn't have any other purpose than looking good. And we put 2 of these. So 2 medium-sized and 1 small-sized fuel tank to be our launch stage. And no, wait, let's try something different today. Let's make a little bit more advanced. I've seen a lot of people done this design where they have the tail fins on the end. So let's see if we can do the same. So I think about there, yes, that looks about right. And to give us more thrust, we're going to use the non-vectoring engines, the big ones, and 1 vectoring in the middle. I think that should be controllable. Yes. And on the sides we put, should we use 4? We use two solid fuel rockets. I think that will be enough. And the clipping is not there. Oh, no, there we go. So yeah, will that melt that engine? We'll just have to see. Maybe we'll have a failed launch. And since this is Kerbal Space Program, there can never be enough struts. So let's put 2 there. So I think we are about ready to launch. That looks nice. For one more thing I want is some RCS fuel. Just because we're going to fly this to the moon and back, and I'm going to be impatient if we're going to do this without any RCS, or the turning will be so slow. So yeah, not a looker. It's not the best looking rocket, but I think it will do its job. So let's see, solid fuel and main engines at first stage. Then detach solid fuel rockets, detach and start the engine. We don't want to detach our skyrocket until the very end. So yeah, that's it. Let's go to the launch pad and fly this thing to the moon. And hopefully I haven't forgotten anything, so it will work on the first try. That would be something. Kerbal Space Program working out on the first attempt. Recording 1. So no RCS. Full throttle and launch. And we have liftoff. Perfect. And when I was making this, I started playing around with the design a little bit because or just doing some side things. This is really just rambling on while we're waiting for this to get into orbit. Because most of the SpaceX rocket, the Falcon 9 I think, it stays for a couple of seconds on full throttle at the launch pad before it starts, or before it's released and goes into orbit or starts its ascent. And I was thinking, how could we do that in Kerbal Space Program, because we would waste a lot of fuel when you are just burning on the ground. So I found a way to attach a fuel tank on the side with some fuel pipes and some docking clamps to see if I could do the same, and it actually worked quite nicely. So I think I'll just upload a small picture up on the side here, if I remember it when I'm doing the editing. Just putting up a small picture in frame, isn't that what it's called? So this is not going to be the most fuel efficient ascent, and don't shoot me about that, but I'm going for an easy ascent, turning around 8,000, giving us a little bit more margin for error. And if we run out of fuel in the booster stage here, the top rocket will have enough power to push us into orbit. But let's see how we're getting on. So 50,000, that's pretty good. And getting a lot of speed now. Let's push this more to get a sideways velocity. And we're gonna stop this at 90,000. So what is this orbiting? It's it's a station and our lander craft. So there's some crafts from earlier tutorials flying around. Let's save the RCS fuel, and we still have some fuel in our booster stage, pretty much actually. So this was fuel efficient. It's fuel efficient to do it this way with the engines. Quite like it. It looks nice. Looks like the Saturn V rocket or something. So yeah, let's just warp this until we get to where we can do full time warp and not just physics warp, and we can get this to the moon. And it would be so cool now if we could see the moon coming up here in the horizon, and we could just go for a full burn live once. But we will not, it's on the other side of Kerbal. But never mind. Let's think about our orbital maneuvers and circularization. One thing at a time. Full speed ahead, and we are just going to get this into an orbit. We are not going to think too much about circularizing it. It's just as long as it's close enough. Oh, that's quite far off, but what? Never mind. It's our rocket fuel anyway. So let's ditch that, and we have some space debris. That's nice. So we are going to do a normal moon burn, waiting for it to approach the horizon. So let's just time warp until we can see the moon. So I'm using the map just to calculate about when we're going to see it, so we don't overshoot it by too much. So there is the sun, so we can recharge our batteries, and there's the moon. And it's a good thing this is a small and fast craft, since we are a little bit late, but everything can be fixed, especially with the moon. The moon is such an easy object to go to. It has high enough gravity that you will be captured. You can miss by quite a few minutes and still manage to get captured by it. And it's such a low gravity that you can land and practice interstellar or different body landings on it. So I quite like the moon. It's nice. It's easy to go to. So let's hope I'm not just talking myself or making an embarrassment out of myself by missing the moon now. That would be something. So getting the AppWaps up, and hopefully we will have enough fuel in this bottom stage to do our orbital maneuvers and hopefully start our descent down to the moon. And if everything goes as planned, I hope we can do a braking maneuver with the rocket and then just use the skycrane the last distance down, because the skycrane is a little uncontrollable. So 37 and going the right direction. Let's just quick save in case I warp past the moon. I have a tendency to warp too fast. Making the movies, I don't want you guys to wait too long for me to get to places, and I can get a little impatient of waiting sometimes, so I have a tendency to overshoot the targets, as you've probably seen a couple of times. So yeah, still at 37,000, that's very good. Let's flip this around. We have 10 seconds. It doesn't... 40,000 meters is not very much at all, so I'm not really stressed out at all. And let's just get this circularized, something close to about 40, 50. somewhere will be good enough. Let's just slow down, and that's 50 and 35, that's good. And we maybe want to land here at where the orbiter is, but we don't want to land in nighttime. Or maybe we can land somewhere new this time. Let's land at the edge of this crater. That looks good. So let's make a maneuver node there, and we're not going to do anything. I'm just going to use it as a time reference. There we go. And we want to go a little more south, so let's do this. So it was the perfect burn to the moon, since we didn't get completely equatorial. That's actually the first time in a pretty long time I haven't gotten a perfect moon encounter. And yes, so we could go for a straightaway landing here at the moon, but I'm going to show you an easier way to do it, and it's not the most fuel efficient way, but it's one of the most fuel efficient ways, I think, and it's by far the easiest ways. Now, it doesn't work perfectly for bodies with an atmosphere, but for bodies without an atmosphere it works pretty well. So the theory about, or not the theory, the point, or yeah, let's call it the theory about this maneuver is that I want to bring our periaps right over our landing spot. So we are just going to do some small maneuver changes and orbital changes to put our periaps right over here. So there, and let's bring it out of the ground, because we don't want to hit the ground. We want to have our periaps a couple of thousand meters above the ground. The closer you can get it, the better. Okay, I can't pronounce that right now. But you also have to have enough time to stop and go down. And the reason why I'm doing this is that at periaps our downward velocity will be 0, and after periaps it will go up. So it means if we start to brake at periaps, we don't have to think about our downwards velocity. We will be flying horizontal to the moon's surface, or as close to horizontal as you can with something like this. But so you don't need to think about the downwards velocity, and you can just kill all the sideways velocity, and you can go straight down, making it a lot easier to get to nice and easy landing. You don't have to think that much about sideways velocities and all that things. But the downside is that you have to physics warp the last part because you're too close to the ground. And the reason why this would make it a little difficult in an atmosphere is that you would lose speed, so you would lose your sideways velocity, but you would also pick up downwards velocity. Oh, look at that, an archway. That's right, there's an Easter egg right here, so we can maybe drive over to the Easter egg. But that's us, we are periaps. Let's break our sideways velocity, and we might get a perfect landing for our moon arch. So I'm just going to use our ascent, or ascent vertical speed, or the vertical speed, yes, to try to keep that close to 0 while we kill all our sideways velocity. And we are about close to killing all the sideways velocity, and after we've done that, we just cut the engines and let this thing drift to the ground. Just a little bit more, and let's straighten this up. And we have so much fuel after doing this that we don't have to do a suicide burn. We can just slowly go down and keeping the velocity slow enough so we can do a nice and safe landing. And I think we're going to drive over to the moon arch. I don't think I've been to this moon arch yet, actually. That's probably something we could do in an episode in when I get the time. As I said in my Kerbal Space Exploration episode, it's a lot of school project lately, so it won't be any time soon, sadly. I wish I could use all my time with Kerbal Space Program, but unfortunately we have school to do too. And scattering is off. That's too bad. So yeah, killing my velocity and detaching using the skycrane. The last part, and it doesn't have an RCS, so no SAS. So we have to be very careful, because if this drives too far out, it will probably kill you, to be honest. And come on, there. And it's a little top heavy, so let's just get rid of that at once and brake so we don't hit that. Actually, it only lost its engines. So there goes the skycrane flying off into the distance. It'll probably fly quite a long way. So yeah, I'm just going to drive up to this moon arch if I can turn my rover, but that's how you build a rover and get it to the moon, and I hope that it has been of some interest to watch me go to the moon with the rover, and that it will help you getting to the moon yourself. Apparently I keep sliding around here right now, but I will go to the moon arch and we will finish off this episode. So yeah, we got into the archway, and that was a 4.7 kilometers drive, and that was the rover getting there under the arch and having Kerbin right above it. Now it's just one last thing I forgot to say before we started driving. If you drive in the normal mode, you will see that the rover is tilting backwards and forwards from the gyroscope in the pod part probably. And if you try to drive like this, you will lose traction on most of your wheels. So if you go over to docking mode, or the docking controls, it will not be controlled by the SAS will no longer control it. As you can now see, I'm going backwards and forwards and nothing is happening, and you will have full traction on all your wheels, so you can boogie around the moon and find nice archways. So I hope this tutorial has been clearing up some questions, and that it has been educational. And if you have any more questions, just please put them in the comment below, and I will answer them as soon as I can. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial, and see you guys later. Wearing Storm signing off.